Chapter 9, The Grape Mountain. Bye, Mom, Alex called over her shoulder. Don't forget to bring T-Bone to school this afternoon. Okay, Alex, Mom called back. Be careful with that wagon. Today was dress rehearsal, and Alex and Janie had to pull the mountain of grapes float to school. Barbara and Alex had worked hard on the grape mountain. They had decided not to use a dirt mountain, but had wrapped several layers of foam rubber into a cone shape. They then glued and taped to attach the purple construction paper circles to the cone. Green yarn draped around the grapes to make perfect stems. The grape mountain measured a little over 4 feet tall, and after being anchored to the bed of Alex's wagon, the entire float stood over 6 feet. Starting off to school, Alex pulled the wagon over the crest of Juniper Street Hill. Almost immediately, she had to pull back on the handle of the wagon to keep it from shooting down the hill. Alex, said Janie as she ran alongside the wagon, if this thing starts to fall, I don't think I can catch it. Brussels sprouts, Janie, Alex exclaimed. Don't talk like that. I can't fall. You just can't let it fall. Hey, Alex, this is neat, Jason cried as he bounded over to them. It would be neater if T-Bone was pulling it, Rudy said, joining Jason on the sidewalk. Very funny, Goblin, she retorted. No, T-Bone can't pull the mountain of grapes all the way to school. Mom's going to bring him to school later so he can pull it at dress rehearsal. Hey, you guys, Rudy called to a group of neighborhood children walking behind them. Look at my sister's grape mountain. Oh no, Alex moaned. Don't touch it, she shouted, as a sudden wave of children surrounded the mountain. What is it? One boy asked, wrinkling his nose. It looks like a purple pyramid, grinned another. Nah, it's too lumpy to be a pyramid, argued a girl. It's supposed to be a mountain full of grapes, Alex tried to explain. You know, like a float in a parade. A float, they all laughed. Did you use grape soda in your float? Alex sighed and continued to steer the wagon slowly and carefully down the hill. Look, Alex, Janie called back. Look behind us. Alex turned her head, and Rudy and Jason and the other children were marching single file behind the great mountain. You said it was like a float in a parade, Rudy called to Alex. Here's the parade. Alex laughed. It was fun to be the head of a parade, especially when you were pulling the main attraction. Other children joined the parade as it made its way down Juniper Street. This is just getting embarrassing, Janie called as the line marched behind Alex and the mountain stretched longer and longer. By the time they reached the bottom of the hill and had turned right along another street that took them to the crosswalk in front of Kingswood Elementary School. Brussels sprouts, Alex exclaimed as she saw the parade now stretch for over 2 blocks, and still more children were joining. They marched behind the mountain, pretending to play imaginary instruments or twirling imaginary batons. Rudy pranced up and down the parade line, bouncing a pretend trombone. And when Alex reached the crosswalk, she tried not to look at the safety patrol. The older girl stared wide-eyed at the mountain and the parade behind it. At that moment, the traffic light turned green, and the safety patrol walked to the middle of the crosswalk and held out her flag. Alex, with Janie's help, rolled the grape mountain over the curb and into the street. The line of children followed the mountain, dancing and playing their pretend band instruments. The cars that were waiting on both sides of the crosswalk honked merrily at the parade, and their drivers cheered and waved to the children. There was such a lot of noise and excitement that Mrs. Larson and several teachers hurried outside of the school building to see what was happening. Mr. Carpenter quickly joined the safety patrol in the middle of the street to make sure that all the children in the parade crossed the street safely. Alex pulled the mountain slowly up the school driveway and into the front of the school. She grinned from ear to ear. Who would have thought that her great mountain would cause such excitement? Janie walked behind Alex, her hands covering her face in embarrassment. The parade continued to follow Alex and the mountain until she parked the wagon in the music room. Then everyone scurried to the classrooms. T-Bone performed well at the dress rehearsal that afternoon. He pulled the grape mountain around the stage as a part of Alex's first commercial. Of course, Alex walked beside her dog to keep him in line. A crowd of children surrounded T-Bone after rehearsal. That's a neat dog, someone told Alex. Thanks, Alex replied proudly. Just think, said a boy. If Alex had been the Scarecrow instead of the Master of Ceremonies, then we wouldn't have any neat commercials in our play. And we wouldn't have T-Bone in our play, shouted someone else. Alex grinned with pleasure. She was glad to be the Master of Ceremonies. It was turning out to be more fun than Scarecrow part. Looking around, Alex was surprised to see Tyler watching. He scowled and looked terribly unhappy. I wonder what's wrong with him, Alex asked herself. When her mother came to pick Alex and T-Bone up after dress rehearsal, Alex said, "You know, it's funny how things turn out sometimes." "What do you mean?" Mother asked. "Well, I'm really glad I'm not a Scarecrow because I like being the Master of Ceremonies," Alex explained. "And I have a lot of speaking parts, and the commercials are fun to do. And today the other kids said that they are glad I'm the Master of Ceremony and not the Scarecrow." Mother nodded. It seemed to have worked out pretty well. "Yes," Alex replied, "it worked out good for me because it doesn't seem to have worked out so well for Tyler." "Why not?" Mother asked, surprised. "All Tyler does is frown and look mad," Alex replied. "I don't understand it. He got what he wanted. He got to be the Scarecrow." "That's true," Mother replied, "but Tyler got what he wanted in the wrong way. No one really finds real happiness if they hurt other people to get what they want." "Do you mean that it's more important how we get something than by getting it?" Alex asked her mother. "Exactly," Mother smiled. "Tyler didn't care one thing about you or your feelings. All he cared about was getting the part for himself." Alex nodded in agreement. "But even though you wanted to be the Scarecrow, you did the right thing by giving up the part to help out Tyler and your teachers," said her mother. "It's no wonder that you feel good and Tyler feels bad." "Yeah," Alex agreed, "but I also gave up the Scarecrow part because that's what God wanted me to do." "Yes," Mother added, "and that's the best reason of all. God knew you were strong enough to make the sacrifice, and making sacrifices for others is as close as we can become like Jesus." "But it doesn't really seem like much of a sacrifice now," Alex said, "because I'm happy to be the Master of Ceremonies." Mother laughed. "God blesses us when we sacrifice something for him. I think getting the Masters of Ceremonies part was God's way of saying, 'Good job, Alex.'"